All right, welcome back to ChattRoom. This is Michael, and I'm with my co-host.
John?
And today we're going to talk about student athletes and how, if you didn't know, they can now get paid. That's right. It's no longer just amateurism. There's the professionalism, and we're going to discuss that today and kind of our thoughts. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What does it mean for sports? And what does it mean for the athletes themselves? So, John, do you have any thoughts right off the bat on this?
I'm going to start off with the first con of college athletes getting paid. And I don't know if it's really like a bad thing, but like I just feel, and this is probably the most selfish con answer I could ever give. But I think it's going to change like the way like you see like big schools, which one's the best team and things like that. Like, I know like Texas, like as a state, there's some of the like they're one of the more wealthy states. California, even though they have a homeless problem, they have like a very wealthy overall state. There's a lot of money in those certain states, and I think that it could change like athletes to not look so much at the program, but like go to where the money's at. And like I said, it's not really like a con. It's just I just think like you could see like all the best players because they got all paid to go to the same school, and then that just one school just kind of dominates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it just college has always been one of those sports where people you go to what fits you, the campus. I feel like it's kind of for like the top 500 athletes. It's like, no, screw that. It's like what, like who's paying, who's going to give me endorsements, all that stuff. And I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of taken away that atmosphere of college football,
Yeah,
or college basketball.
that's interesting. So I'm going to push back on it, but then I'm going to add something else. So the pushback is, of course, recruiting. You could say already sort of does that. I
Yeah.
mean, I know that's kind of the big unofficial, like cynical argument
Yeah.
is whether they're getting kind of quote unquote paid anyways. I mean, there's a lot of rules. They're not allowed to accept gifts, or at least they weren't in the past. Pretty much it was the coaches, the teams, and the universities making the most money.
Right.
But you could still argue that obviously there was things that they were kind of being baited with to go. But wow, yeah, I never thought about it that way, the way you put it, and I don't think that's like a selfish an answer as I think you even thought it was yourself. But it makes me think, what if this school is good in sports or whatever? Yeah, you can make money through the program, but it's like also the people there just have figured out the best way to brand themselves. Because I could
Hmm.
almost see it'd be like, well, yeah, I could go to Duke, but over here at Caltech, they've got a program where I can get like on a YouTube studio
Yeah.
set up, do my own podcast, and get like a million followers and set myself up for life way after I get hurt and retire.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's probably a little unrealistic thinking there, but yeah, it's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to put on it. So, like, this is a good thing. I think for many, many years, a lot of college athletes have put their bodies on the line for like TV, for games, and not been had the opportunity to go to the NFL or go to the NBA. And I'm using NFL and NBA because those are like some of the bigger sports and from going from transitioning to college to the pro levels. And I mean, how many players on a Saturday for college football are out there just, just playing, and a lot of them are not even going to see the NFL. So it's like they should get something, for all the hard work, for the United States enjoyment, all that stuff. Like like they're like stadiums are making millions of dollars off these, I guess, essentially young kids or young adults every year, and they're getting what, a dorm for it. You know what I mean? So it's like I just think it's a good thing that they're getting paid now and have more opportunities to accept payments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned using their bodies, and that is so true. And we haven't talked about kind of the risk that so many athletes have of these long-term injuries. And you're seeing more now about CTE, which if you don't know what that is, think of the Will Smith movie Concussion, and you kind of got an idea. But, of these kind of lasting repercussions that are going to affect some of these athletes well past their career because yeah, it's a tiny percent that make it into those pro leagues. So yeah, that's I agree. That's why when I heard this kind of news that they were pushing for this, and then finally, the NCAA relented, or I guess came to some kind of agreement. I was really happy just because of this, because yeah, I mean, it's basically a job. Probably takes more hours than even the average job.
Right, and now that you say that, so it says that the average college, and I'm gonna use NCAA, which is like, or not NCAA, but the college football NCAA. It says an average student outside of school uses about 35.4 hours of their time for the athletic sport that they're at school for, and it says if that was a minimum wage, they would make about $1,000 a month. Which, well, I don't know what the maths on that is. Right, hold up now.
Minimum wage is still pretty low. So
yeah, 35 hours a week is how much time they spend. Okay, that's school and football. But that's almost like a full week of like average work. And minimum wage like as of currently is not really like $7 anymore. So I mean, I would say it's at least at like 13, 14, in my head, most jobs pay that now. But
yeah, it's like the unofficial minimum wage.
yeah, it hasn't been actually changed, but like no one makes $7 anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You couldn't live.
Yeah.
There's
if,
just
if
no way.
you are, get out of that job.
Yeah.
If you
go to Wendy's, they're hiring for 14. Yeah, it's just, I mean, like their college degree and what they're getting, it's honestly less than that. So that's just another point to like how much time that they're putting in each week, that they should be getting something other than some textbooks, a dorm, and I guess in my words, other people will hate this, but a crappy degree. And you know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, and I just looked at, because I was curious to see the disparity between how much money is basically being made off of them. And according to the conversation.com, and this is 2018, I'm sure it's only increased, college sports programs have made about $14 billion. That is ticket sales, apparel deals, TV contracts, merchandise sales. That's including the video games and, everything that has their picture on it. They never had any of that.
yeah.
So that's just crazy, because you can't think of any other industry that's really like that. And I know this is kind of that romanticized thing, and this is the same with like the Olympics. I know used to be amateurs, it's amateurism.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's gone away. And, you think of the South, people like college sports so much more than NFL. NFL's the most popular in America, but here, and I feel like we have really strong programs, so that's part of it, and people really love their college teams. There's a lot of loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also heard people kind of allude to that. It's like, well, they're getting paid for that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, suddenly now that it's because it's their job, we don't like the NFL, but we like college sports. And I've never understood that.
Yeah.
So, just to put out kind of really the only argument I've ever heard from anybody that wasn't already themselves making money, because coaches and, sports networks and whatnot have definitely tried to argue against this because they know they would lose money. But generally, the average fan, it's always been like, oh, it's for the good of the game, and amateurism, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. One more pro that I have for this video. It says that college athletes, it would help them like begin their financial like awareness like early at an earlier stage, because even if they weren't getting paid a lot, back to the thing I just said before this, if they were like getting $1,000 from an endorsement deal, or whether it's from the school, or whether it's from commission off the ticket sales, or whatever avenue that they're getting paid from, this would teach them a little bit more, because you got to think a lot of college students, like their meals are paid for because they're on a scholarship, their room is paid for because they're on a scholarship. They most likely, somebody on the football team has a car, or maybe they came to school with a car, and so like really like they're probably paying for what, like to have fun on the weekend, a little bit of gas, if they want something other than food like at the school that the school provides, they're probably paying for that. But it doesn't set you up to like, okay, in a year, buddy, like you're going to get a $12 million contract. You know what I mean? Like you went from like, okay, here's a card, you can swipe this wherever on campus, to like a $12 million contract. And not saying that all athletes don't know how to use their money, but like it just kind of gets you in that groove. You know what I mean? Like you're, okay, I got to spend money here, I got to spend money there. Like it's like getting you prepared to like watch your money, kind of maybe invest a little bit of it while you're playing in college, like just all that stuff,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. This has been a fun topic, and if you have any thoughts on the matter, and I'm sure you do, let us know in the comments. Be sure to follow like, subscribe, all of that. And this has been Chat Room.